No, you guys are good. So I hope you guys had a lovely Thanksgiving. I got to travel. It was very exciting. I got to go to El Paso, Texas, where my son is stationed at the second largest military base in the United States. Yes, I do. Oh, I told you, didn't I? I repeat myself now because I'm old. I did not get to see any aliens, unfortunately. Although we drove up to White Sands, which was amazing. My husband was there 50 years ago when he was a little boy. It's literally just miles and miles of white sand. And you go out initially into the park, and there's some scrub brush and a couple of things that you might call a tree, but mostly just scrub. But then you go to the back of the park, and it is miles and miles of white sand dunes. And there's a 5 mile hike to the back of the park. And so we did the 5 mile hike. And at the beginning, you can rent sleds and sled down the dunes. We did not do this, but we took our shoes off because it was so fine. It just felt so good. It's kind of cool. It's about 60 to 65. But we did the 5 mile. And so you start out and there's people sledding, whatever. But then you get back a couple miles in and just not very many people are doing the whole 5 mile loop. And so for long periods of time, the three of us were the only ones in sight. You could not hear another human being, see another human being. There's mountains in the distance and there's just white sand and you're just climbing up the dunes and some of them are really steep. And then you get to the edge and like, oh crap, I got to go down. And of course, my husband and my son are just trot down. Okay, I will end up on my face if I try to do that. So I'm just sort of, sticking my heel in, but you stick your heel in and you slide. But it felt so good. It was so fun. But I did complain about the lack of aliens. On the way there were places selling aliens, statues, silver ones and green ones. We did not stop to price them, but I was thinking that if I brought it home, I would be the only one in Orion probably to have an alien statue. B, it would look very funny as checked baggage coming out of the alien with the tag on his wrist, coming out of the turntable. Kind of wanted that to happen, but the highlight. Did I tell you about the song? I'm going to write a blog post about this, I think. So write this down. El Paso is the name of the song, and the artist is Marty Robbins. Okay? So this is a story of what literature and poetry does for your life. All right? This is why I'm telling you this story, also to show off. So this is a famous song from the 50s. Marty Robbins is a country singer. I'm not going to sing the whole song. Okay. Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. Nighttime would find me in Rose's cantina. Music would play and Felina would whirl. Okay, it goes on. And there's a shootout. He kills a guy because she's hitting on Felina, and then he runs off to New Mexico. But he loves Felina so much, he has to go back. And at last, here I am on the hills overlooking El Paso. I can see Rose's cantina below. And he goes, but of course they're laying in wait for him because he's murdered someone, and they just shoot him off his horse. And Felina finds him and cradles him in his arms. And one final kiss and Felina, goodbye. Okay, so I've been listening to this song for 57 years, and I'm going to El Paso. Like, awesome. So there's a mountain range that goes down into El Paso, the Franklin Mountains, and you can see them from everywhere. And it's 6,000 feet plus. So we did some hikes up through. It was very rugged, but my son slowed down considerably, and we made it. I made it up to the heights, and so you could see, here I am on the hills overlooking El Paso, just like the song. I'm like, where was this cantina? So we look it up. There's a Rose's Cantina. There's Rose's Cantina in El Paso. I know. I'm so excited. You look excited too. So anyway, we went to Rose's Cantina. No one got shot. It's a little disappointing. But anyway, the point of this is sometimes a poem or a story, it's with you your whole life. And then you get to go to the place. Apparently Marty Robbins was passing through El Paso. The story is, and Highway 85, Interstate 85 was the old stagecoach trail. And so it was the main thoroughfare. And Marty Robbins stopped at Rose's Cantina. And then he wrote that song. And it's just really famous. So my son took us up to White Sands and it came on his playlist. El Paso was playing as I'm riding through the Badlands of New Mexico where the guy rode. Sometimes a story just sticks with you. And so I carried this story for 57 years. And then I went to Rose's Cantina and I was on the hills overlooking El Paso. I did not. I did. You could, but my husband had a Marty Robbins burger. And, but I didn't get Felina's favorite margarita. I passed on that. Anyway, that's what I did with my Thanksgiving. We hiked and hiked and hiked. I got very tired, but it was sort of living out a story. So maybe you guys have a favorite song or story, and maybe you'll get to live it out someday. It's when reality meets literature or poetry or music. It's just kind of surreal when you think this is the thing I've heard about all my life, and now I'm here. I'm in the place. So that is the end of my TED Talk about Marty Robbins. I have brought, for your viewing pleasure, a considerably large book. Another gift from the son who gets me things. This is a psalter. I mean, this is a reproduction, obviously. So it's just a collection of the Psalms, right? There's a writing and an illustration for every psalm. I marked 2, but I don't think I'm going to take the time to show you but one of them. I'm just going to come around. It's the Anglo-Catalan Psalter. They started making it in Britain, and then somehow unfinished it ended up in Spain. And they finished it there. So they like people who like this sort of thing, map out the artists, the different, like the British artists and the Spanish artists, and they did various portions of it. But I love this because it has, so what I'm going to show you is just the page for one. I'll show you this one. Which one do I like better? Hang on. Oh, let's do this one. Just for one psalm. And so each psalm is illustrated. Many of the psalms are of David, you know that. So often they are pictures of David's life, but this one is a psalm about God will trample down the wicked. So the first picture is guys at a wine press, and the wine is flowing out, but it looks like blood because, the day of the wrath of God, is approaching. Nobody knows why those 4 horses are there, but maybe they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Some of it is not completely understandable. That's very nice and compassionate of you, Ethan. Be concerned about him. Oh, somebody left their pictures here too that they're supposed to use for their assignment.
Can I have them?
Nice. No.
You should punish him by taking them.
Can I copy them?
No, it was Nate. I think it's Nathan. Nathan was sitting here. It was Nathan and Jaden. And and Bentley. So it's one of theirs, but it's sitting right in front of Nathan's place. I give them to his brothers, but I don't know. Look at the handwriting. It's just amazing. So imagine there's one of these for every psalm. So it would be less threatening, wouldn't it? The 4 panda bears of the apocalypse. It just doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? You can look at this on your way out if you want to take some time. There's another one I marked, but I don't want to take the time. The works of art produced in the Middle Ages are just incredible. The books, if you love books like I do, and I think some of you do, wow. Some books are just so, I mean, that's a beautiful book. Big like that with the big pictures. I care about my books so much. Do you guys ever get books where the pages are rough? They're cut. Do you know what I mean? And it's, I hate that. I order a book and it's one of those. I wish I had spent more and gotten a nice book. So anyway, okay. Did not assign you any paper. I'm so sorry, Dalton, but you look and I will look, and we will get to the bottom of this. But for next week, I would like you, let's just give you this flat out. You know, next week is our last week before Christmas. So I'm just going to give you a summa. Just a one paragraph, just to remind you, one paragraph, 250 to 300 words. It doesn't need to be really deep. And I'm going to just go straight to the end, since you know how Gawain and the Green Knight ends. At the end, you might recall, Gawain is very shaken by the fact that he did not perfectly pass the test. He kept the green lace and he did not reveal it to save his own life. And even though I feel like most of us would say, Gawain, you're awesome. You turned down the advances of the lady. You everybody in the court at Camelot says, chill. That's not a direct quote from the poem. You're great. Gawain, you're great. So here's my question for you. Should Gawain be ashamed of his conduct? Should he live the rest of his life in disgrace? Or give in to the king and the others who tell him to lighten up? You can write that in whatever way. You don't have to write those exact words, but that's it. Should Gawain be ashamed or should he chill? And just say, you know what? I'm not perfect. So this is a pretty easy, and I feel like none of you is probably going to say no. Gawain should do penance. He should cry and beat himself every day for the rest of his life. But I would like you to put that into nice words for me in some way. And I decided to do something different with this book. I asked you questions, and they were basically questions about the plot. And I'm just going to, right off the bat here, were there any questions that you couldn't answer? Like, were they all pretty obvious? You know, yeah. What do you think, Alex?
For the first question, I didn't get a definitive reason besides, oh, I want to, for Sir Gawain taking Arthur's in the challenge.
Let's see if we can see exactly what Gawain says. Okay. And maybe it's a between the lines sort of thing. Okay, let me find it. Just a second.
The Green Knight kind of showed up and was like, what are you doing here? Like, once he left to go to find the Green Chapel, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, now I understand what's going on. But the entire first section was like,
Okay. For I find it unfitting, as in fact it is held, when a challenge in your chamber makes... I am the weakest, I am aware, and in wit feeblest, and the least loss, if I live not, if one would learn the truth. Only because you are my uncle is honor given me. Save your blood in my body, I boast of no virtue. And since this affair is so foolish that it nowise befits you, and I have requested it first, accord it then to me. Right. So I think he gives multiple reasons there.
I remember reading that passage too, but I'm pretty sure it was addressed, said Gawain.
Oh yeah, I should have said that is Gawain is Gawain.
So I thought that this old dude who was calling himself evil.
Okay.
Something like, Gawain, you do it.
I should have warned you of that. That's my bad. So he says several things. He says, first of all, you're more important than me, Arthur. If I die, there's less loss. He says, it's not fitting to grab the chance and get the glory for yourself when there's lots of great knights here. Give them a chance. He says, I'm only here because you're my uncle. But can you read between the lines and hear a reason why he would step in? What's a reason? He wants to protect his uncle. So I don't think he says that, but I think that's the vibe. I'm only here because you're my uncle, and I'm duty bound to protect you also because you're my uncle, and you've done things for me. So I think that's where I was going with that. Does that make sense? Is there any other question that just seemed, I don't know, what you wanted, Mrs. Ferguson? Were we good? Because we're going to be questions today. We're just going to do something completely different. And it is this. I want to look at the things that make a story and see if we can dig in and find out why this poet did certain things. And the first thing, as threatened, let's look at setting. All right. And we have various settings, don't we? The So if I want to go there first. Sure. When is it set? When does it happen? When does the green night come in? Christmas. Now, this is the thing I asked you to think about.
Yes, it's the Christmas story.
Is there a reason it happens at Christmas? Okay, I'm gonna let Ethan go first and then come.
I would argue that the holidays and especially like the emotion behind the holidays is kind of shows what kind of person you are.
Okay.
And the Christmas celebration, Dwayne was kind of enjoying himself, being around people, and just overall being very friendly and kind. And it kind of shows his character as as a person that he may be very humble and may think that he's like the worst person in the world, beating his chest because he didn't finish the test. But he was also tempted by a woman. Okay, we're gonna put it there pretty plainly.
Okay,
And,
so let's put
this height of
there's
emotion
temptation.
during Christmas time or whatever, and he still stayed. He was he didn't like dismiss chivalry, but he also was was denying any like bad thoughts and other thoughts. So I would say like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but like with the heightened emotion around like holiday time and stuff, he still stayed well tempered.
Right, Karsten, what did you want to add?
When he went to, because he had to go to find the Green Chapel right around the holiday season, so it kind of overshadowed it. It kind of was like kind of dampened like the festiveness of the season, I guess, in a sense, because it's like, well, guys, it's Christmas time, but it's like you might be going to your death. But I would say it's still not a Christmas story because most of the story takes place after it. After Christmas.
Oh, I need to clarify something. Christmas lasts until January 6th. The Protestant world doesn't realize this. But Christmas lasts from December 25th to January 6th, Epiphany. So if you go to a church that follows the liturgical calendar, you know this, and if you don't, you wouldn't know. Easter also lasts for 40 days. No, Easter lasts from Easter Day until the Feast of the Ascension. And then 10 days after that is the Feast of Pentecost. So it is all Christmas. So it just, and you wouldn't be any, if you don't follow the liturgical calendar, there would be no way for you to know that. But Christmas, New Year's is still Christmas, if that makes sense, because it's not just one day. It's ergo the 12 days of Christmas. But it does, but let me make sure I'm hearing you right. So the impending danger casts a shadow over the Christmas festivities, would you say?
Yeah, in a sense, I guess it. Yeah, so yeah, it kind of is because I mean, for the entire time that he's at the castle, he's just partying and having a good time, basically. So
Or sleeping.
I mean,
He sleeps a lot.
Does a lot of sleeping. It was a rough trip.
Okay, I realized that because it was like, oh, and Christmas happened, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not even like 2 pages into the story.
Yeah, and so, but then again, the next year of Christmas. Well, Matthew, chime in.
So, if it's Christmas time and they're celebrating, how come Ward Burlak the whole time is hunting? I know why he does, but still, he could have just said he was out partying or something instead of just hunting.
Well, I don't think there's anywhere else to party near his castle. I think it sounded fairly remote, and if you hunt, if you like that sort of thing, if you're a hunter or a fisherman, like that is a party for you, if you know what I mean. Like I'm going to go out and, I don't know, commune with nature and kill things. Ethan, go ahead.
I can answer that by saying my dad is a hunter, so he'll literally hunt like this season right now. He'll hunt like around Thanksgiving time, a before or after the Christmas day, because like he loves hunting. That's like something he loves to do. So he'll do it. Like that's like a celebration for him.
You could do it instead of doing Christmas and just dip it in November.
So I want to throw in something else in a minute, but is there something in the Christmas story that casts a shadow over the Christmas season? What is it?
Jesus' destiny to be.
Okay, so so Jesus is born to die. We looked at that icon that I brought in where Jesus was in a food trough, because he's food, but he's also in a food trough that looked very much like a coffin because he's born to die. It's there at the very beginning. But is there something that actually happened very quickly after Jesus' birth that casts a